I didn't shout. I didn't cry. And I didn't confront her. Because the moment I found out the truth, I already knew the ending wasn't going to be loud. It was going to be silent and permanent. My name is Daniel, and I used to believe I had a perfect life. A steady job, a small apartment in the city, and a wife I thought I could trust completely. Her name was Emma. We had been together almost 6 years, married for 3. People used to say we were the ideal couple, and I believed it. Every morning I left for work at the same time. Every evening I came back thinking I was returning to the same love I left behind. But I didn't know something had already changed in my absence. At first it was small things. She started hiding her phone, smiling at messages she wouldn't explain, spending more time out with friends. I told myself I was overthinking. That's what people in love do. They ignore the signs. But the truth doesn't stay hidden forever. One night, everything changed. She left her laptop open on the kitchen table before going to shower. I wasn't looking for anything, not really. But a notification popped up, and I saw a name I recognized. My best friend.
Mark.
At first I froze. I told myself it meant nothing. But curiosity is dangerous when trust is already weak. I opened the chat. And in that moment, my entire world collapsed silently. Messages, photos, plans, things that didn't belong in a marriage, things that didn't belong in friendship. It wasn't just betrayal. It was a second life I didn't know existed right next to mine. And the worst part? It had been going on for months. I closed the laptop slowly. My hands were steady. That surprised me, because inside everything was breaking. When she came out of the shower, she smiled at me like nothing had happened. "Everything okay?" she asked. I looked at her for a moment. This was the woman I trusted. The woman I built my life around. And she was lying so easily it felt normal to her. I nodded. Yeah, just tired. And that was it. No argument. No questions. No tears. I went to bed next to her that night while my mind was already somewhere else. Because I had made a decision. Not to react, but to understand everything first. Over the next few weeks, I became something she never expected.
Calm.
I didn't question her anymore. I didn't check her phone. I didn't show anger. Instead, I started paying attention. Every excuse. Every late night. Every inconsistency. And slowly, I collected everything. Screenshots, dates, patterns. But I didn't just focus on her. I focused on Mark too. Their meetings, their timing, their lies. And something became very clear. This wasn't a mistake. It was planned, carefully hidden, carefully maintained. While they were living their secret life, I was building mine. I contacted a lawyer quietly. No drama, no emotion, just facts. I learned everything about shared assets, legal separation, and protection. And I stopped thinking like a husband. I started thinking like someone preparing to end a war silently. The next month felt normal to her. But for me, it was the end of something. I finalized everything. Separated finances. Protected what was mine. Prepared all evidence. And I waited. Because revenge doesn't need speed. It needs timing. And hers came on a regular Tuesday evening. She came home happy. Too happy. She said she needed to talk. I already knew what she was going to say. She wanted a divorce. She said she wasn't happy anymore. I smiled. Not because I was happy, but because I was ready. Okay, I said. That confused her. Because she expected emotion. But I had none left for her. The next day, everything unfolded exactly as I planned. In court, she thought it would be easy. She thought I would break down.
Argue.
Make mistakes. But I didn't. I simply presented everything. Messages. Evidence.
Timeline. Proof.
Silence filled the room as the truth became impossible to ignore. And when the judge reviewed everything, the outcome wasn't in her favor. She lost more than she expected. Not because I attacked her, but because I never did. I simply stepped aside and let the truth speak. After everything, I walked out of that courtroom alone. No shouting. No revenge speech. No drama. Just peace. Because real revenge doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it looks like silence and walking away from someone who thought you would never leave. I walked out of that courtroom feeling nothing, not anger, not sadness, just emptiness. But deep inside, I knew one thing. This wasn't just an ending. It was a beginning of consequences. Emma thought it was over. Mark thought they had won something. But I wasn't playing their game anymore. I had already stepped out of it quietly, and that was the most dangerous part. Because people like them always expect noise, arguments, revenge, drama. But I gave them silence. And silence gives people time to make mistakes. A week passed after the court decision. I moved into a small apartment on the other side of the city. No contact, no messages, no explanation. For the outside world, I had lost my marriage. But in reality,
I had just stopped living a lie.
one evening, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick it up. There was a pause, then a shaky voice. It was Mark. For a second, I didn't say anything. I just listened to his breathing on the other side. He sounded nervous.
Different.
Not the confident man I used to know. Daniel, he finally said. We need to talk. I smiled slightly but didn't respond. He continued. Everything is falling apart. Emma, she's not okay. The case, the money. I think we made a mistake. That word, we, felt strange. Because in my mind, there was never a we. Only them. And me. I finally spoke, calm and steady. You made your choices, Mark. There was silence on the line. Then, he said something I didn't expect. She said you planned everything that you knew from the start. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was finally true. Yes, I said quietly. I did. Another long silence. And then, he hung up. That was the moment I realized something important. Revenge doesn't always look like destruction. Sometimes it looks like people slowly realizing what they lost, when it's already too late to fix it. Over the next few weeks, I heard small things through mutual contacts. Their relationship wasn't strong anymore. Trust was gone between them. Arguments started over money, over blame, over guilt. The same foundation they built their betrayal on was now breaking under its own weight. And I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. One evening, I went back to my old neighborhood just to pick up a few things I had left behind. As I stood outside the building I once called home, I saw Emma through the window. She looked different. Not the confident version I once knew, but someone tired.
Lost.
For a second, she looked up. Our eyes met. Just for a moment. She didn't smile. She didn't wave. She just looked like she finally understood something she hadn't before. I didn't move. Neither did she. And then I turned away. Because some endings don't need closure. They just need distance. Months passed. Life slowly rebuilt itself. Not in a dramatic way. Not like movies. But quietly.
Work.
Routine.
Peace.
And for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for lies to show up at home. One evening, I sat alone by the window of my apartment. The city lights were calm. No noise inside my head. And I realized something simple. I didn't destroy anyone. I just stopped protecting people who were destroying me. And somehow that was enough. Because real revenge isn't about making others suffer. It's about reaching a point where their actions no longer control your life. And that was my ending.